Good morning. Now, throughout Black History Month, Colorado & Company is highlighting the voices, the stories, and the creativity that continue to shape our community. Now, Black history in Colorado isn't just written in the books, it's painted on the walls, it's played on the stages, and it's carried in the voices of artists who have shaped our communities for generations. Today, we're joined by the hilarious Khadijah Haynes, the managing director of the Colorado Black Arts Movement, and Will Alston, very funny as well, sir, a longtime performer and champion of the 5 Points arts community. Thank you both for being here.
Great to be here.
I'm very excited to talk with you. Khadijah, I'd like to start with you. When we talk about Black history in Colorado, the arts don't always get mentioned in the same spotlight as like political or social statements. Tell us about the Colorado Black Arts Movement.
The Colorado Black Arts Movement exists to amplify Black artists and their creations, and we work across all genres. And I think the reason that we don't get mentioned in politics and in other places is because we're so embedded in it that they don't separate out the art of politics.
It's enmeshed within.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. My mom was an art docent at the National Gallery of Art, and I'm an art history major, so this is up my alley. I'm very excited.
Okay.
Will, the 5 Points neighborhood it's evolved for decades, and especially into a music and cultural hub. What did Black art and performance mean to the community back in the day, and then what does it mean now?
Well, I think what it meant back in the day and what it means today is probably the same thing. I mean, it was a lifeline. It was survival.
Yeah.
It was how folks gathered around music and church and art. And so when you look at how stories got told and passed along, and and we all know what the history of our country is and segregation, so it wasn't like we had other opportunities to go other places.
That's
but
right.
we made do with where we were, and 5 Points was that kind of village square, if you will, for the African American community. So it was about jobs, it was about economic development, but more so it was about kind of cultural gathering. And so and I think when you look at what's happening with our neighborhoods, and you can love or hate how they evolved and how some of the iconic folk that used to be there are no longer there. You can feel how you feel about that. But I think the challenge is, how do you protect the integrity of a neighborhood that's got a rich, valuable culture
Background.
so that when it progresses economically, how do you make sure the culture gets protected as well? But I think that in a nutshell is 5 Points all
That's
day
5
long.
points. Well said, very well said. Khadijah, what gaps in our community made the Colorado Black Arts Movement necessary, and how does that connect to the broader story of Black history and visibility, especially in our state?
Well, I think the gaps are just what we talked about in your first question, is that it's embedded, and so people don't actually see it unless they're being intentional, like during Black History Month.
For sure.
To take a stronger look at it. The gaps that we see is there isn't enough representation.
Amen.
And that's why Colorado Black Arts Movement is working with the Mount Bello Organizing Committee. We're building a fine arts center in Mount Bello.
No way.
Yes, way.
Mazel tov. That's
Yes,
fabulous.
thank you.
So this is a rendering we have right up here?
There it is.
Oh, that looks fabulous.
And those are a couple of the programs that we have done with folks in the community.
Wow. I think art is the best way to tell history. I really do, and continue to spread it. Now, Will, as both a performer and arts advocate, you've seen Black artists struggle for space and support, let's be honest. What happens to a community? I'm from DC, and I know this very well, right? When it ignores its Black artists, and what happens when they are invested in?
Well, I think when you look at what happens when they get ignored, I think you lose such a rich, important ingredient in that recipe of that neighborhood,
Agreed.
or that community.
Yeah.
And so, but when you look at what happens when they actually do get invested in, I mean, I think stories come alive, and I will take issue with saying art is the best way, because as a jazz singer,
Music.
I think we know how to tell a story as well.
That's very true. But jazz is part of art.
Absolutely,
It is art.
no,
Right?
absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And so, but I think when you look at how places get invested in, I think it no longer is just about culture and economic development. Now
Right.
it's about preservation. And in fact, the city of Denver hasn't given me some funds to explore the possibility of starting a 5 Points Jazz Center.
No.
And so it'll be a place where it'll invest in training artists and performances and youth education, and that process is just starting. And so we're excited about it. But the reason that becomes important,
Yes.
because jazz is such an important element in 5 Points, but it risks the opportunity of getting lost if somebody does not really wake up every day saying, how do I not only preserve this, but how do I make it evolve and exist in today's marketplace? And that's what this center will be about.
That's unbelievable. A jazz center 5. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, the Colorado Black Arts Movement is working to make sure Black artists in Colorado have the space, they have the support, but most importantly, the visibility that they deserve. And also, let's be honest, to teach our younger generation about that and keep that going. If you want to learn more like I do, visit colobblackarts.org.